Dueling Top-10 Edge Rushers post-Senior Bowl for the 2025 NFL Draft. Keith has his rankings. I have mine. Abdul Carter is at the top for us both. But how does the rest of the top 10 shake out? We'll tell you that and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I am an offensive draft analyst over with Bleacher Report, and that's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. Guys, thank you so much for tapping in with us each and every day, being our everydayers. We got a ranking for you, top 10 edge rushers. Guys, we're going to start from 10 to 8. We're going to go through 7 to 5, and we're going to finish off with our top 4 edges. We're going to get into where we have similarities and where we part ways, guys. But before we get into all of that, it is Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network, and it is presented by PrizePicks. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Let's get into our top 10 list. Keep starting from the bottom, right? Like what Drake says, started from the bottom. Now we're here. So we're going to start from the bottom, Keith. And at number 10, you have Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. At number 8, you have Femi Oladejo, I believe that's how you say it, from UCLA. I think that's the young man from UCLA. At number 9, and then number 8, you have Donovan Ezeroku from Boston College. For me, at number 10, I have Antoine Powell-Ryland from Virginia Tech. At number 9, I have Donovan Ezeroku from Boston College. And at number 8, I have Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina. Keith, Donovan Ezeroku, man, this is a guy that I would say most people who look at this edge rush group, and I think we've talked about it a few times, the discussion points is that it's more stand-up, maybe DPRs in this class than what we kind of what we're used to, Keith. How do you look at this situation? Do you look at Donovan as a guy that could be a 3-down player, or he may be more of a specialist for a team at 6'2", 245?
Yeah, DP, I think coming into it, I would have understood that context, right, of the stand-up DPRs, but having seen those guys in person, right, you're looking at them on the field and looking at them, and then also factor in their actual measurements, they're plenty big enough, DP, to be 3-down football players, right? I understand on film if you may have had questions, but after seeing them, that's why I say like something, a data point, right? The Senior Bowl, being able to see these guys in person, being able to body profile them, they're plenty big enough, DP. So at this point, I will push back against that. And I think that you should just be grading them as edge rushers, right? And they can play against the run. They can, they have upside against the run, right? Being as edge rushers. Don't expect them to perform like defensive tackles, right? Against the run. But I think they're plenty good enough to do their job, basically.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. With Ezeroku out of Boston College against 6'2", anywhere from 245, 250. He did look the part. He had two really good days, or 2 good days to start, and I don't think he came back for the third, or he didn't practice the third day in Mobile. And on the season, Keith, 14 sacks, 20 QB hits, 26 hurries. And when you talk about the fourth quarter, right? Your team, this is a guy, if you're an NFL team and you have a high-powered offense, right? You think about the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens, and when you can jump out in front, this is one of those edge rushers you want to have on your team. Because when it's time for the opposing quarterbacks to drop back, the true drop back sets, Keith, he has 14 sacks. 12 of his 14 came on true drop back sets. His pass rush win rate on true drop back sets is 25%. 25% of his rushes he's getting in the backfield, and he's converting into sacks. Like, he is winning at a consistent basis. The bend, the first step quickness is there. So, yeah, if you're a team that, again, I mean, you think about how those old Colts teams were built with Peyton Manning. They knew Peyton Manning was going to put up 29, 30 points. It's like, hey, we got Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. You better not let us get on top. If we get the lead, we're unleashing the dogs, and we're letting them pin their ears back and get upfield. And I think Donovan Ezeroku really fits that kind of mold, Keith. But Antoine Powell Riley, he wasn't the Senior Bowl. He went to the Shrine, and I was watching some of the practice film and stuff. Yeah, what he didn't he didn't school at Virginia Tech. It translated to the Shrine.
Yeah,
like he's out there hitting the spin move and everything else. And I just look at the situation, man, and I think to myself, and I'm like, hey, this young man gets it done. He knows what to do. And for me, it's just like, I appreciate his game. I appreciate his game in complete totality. This young man gets the job done. And I think we're going to get to the combine, and I'm looking up his I'm going to look up his actual weight and everything right now. But I'm pretty sure he's going to check some of those boxes. And I think for teams that just need to, especially if you're a team that don't have a huge need off the rip, like he's 6'3", 252, stout, kind of, filled in frame. I think this is a guy that definitely teams should be looking at 3rd, 4th round potentially. We'll see how he tests in a couple weeks at the combine.
Yeah, no, in DP, I think is you have to have that separation, right? That like, listen, like the Senior Bowl versus Shrine situation, right? And I think some he's Shrine, and I mean he must not be that good, right? Like, no, this guy is talented. He's skilled at getting to the quarterback at the end of the day, and I think having him in a top 10 list just makes sense, right? Just from the production what he's able to do, the height weight thing that you said, you can get verified numbers on. I think he checks all of those boxes, DP.
16 sacks, 3 forced fumbles on the season. And I love guys like that, Keith, that they don't just get in the backfield, create pressure. They don't just convert them into sacks. But if the quarterback isn't, like, especially if he's coming off the blind side, right-handed quarterback, he's looking to hit the ball. He's looking to rake through the hands, punch the quarterback's pocket and the ball carriage, and knock the ball out. And guys like that who can put you in situations to create potential turnovers. Yeah, guys like that, I absolutely rock with, Keith. The Femi Oladejo kid, Keith. We saw him, down there. What was it? Down in Mobile. I believe he was an off-ball backer to start his career, or at one point for UCLA.
Yeah,
what did you see? What did you see out of him, Keith, down in Mobile?
Yeah. So first off, the size, right? And I don't have the verified measurements, but guy that looked to be every bit of 6'4.5", 6'5", 260. I seen first step quickness. I seen explosiveness. I seen Ben to be able to turn the corner. So you're talking about a edge rusher, comes in, he's 6'5", 260 pounds, appears to have really good length. And you've seen the upside. I think he played edge rusher in high school, and then they moved him to stack back when he was at UCLA. Yeah. But he's so big, DP, that it looks like it doesn't look natural for him to be stacked like a stack backer, right? Like he looks like a defensive lineman / edge rusher. Yeah. But one thing I also bought into, and it doesn't have necessarily to do with the skill set, but I think it's the buy-in of him getting better, was his personality, right? Like this guy has a rah-rah, heavy football, let's do it, high energy, high motor, high effort, like personality, right? Like that's his personality. And so you say, hey, betting on something that's going to work. Usually those guys work, right? Because they care about the game, they care about the craft, and so they're trying to move things forward. So that's what I seen from Femi, and I was really impressed with him.
No, his motor, it's his energy is infectious. His motor is nonstop. This guy played with Mike back in the first 3 years of his career, and like you said, having that size, he came in listed at 6'2" and 3/4. 261 pounds, Keith, and he had what I believe it was like a 6'9" wingspan, if I remember correctly, or a 6'8" wingspan, somewhere in there. Like that is incredible for a 6'2" guy to have that type of wingspan. That's the type of stuff like you don't really you can't teach. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you can't teach that, Keith. And I think looking at him, I just see a kid that's going to be able to get the job done, do a lot of good things, and make a lot of plays, man. Like, and he got 10% body fat. 6'2", 261, 10% body fat is incredible. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yep, 100% with DP. Let's keep this thing going in Florida, man, and talk about edge rushers 7 through 5 coming up next.
Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field. And the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, well, that's icing on the cake. Download the app or head over to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com to join today and get in on the action. Bet with FanDuel, the official partner of Super Bowl 59. Edge Rusher 7 through 5. Keith, at number 7, you have Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina. At number 6, you have Nick Scourton from Texas A&M. At number 5, you have Baroncell from Texas. At number 7, I have Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. At number 6, I have Nick Scourton from Texas A&M. And at number 5, I have Baroncell also. Keith, Nick Scourton, a guy that I really wanted to see down in Mobile. Like, productive, like he has the look and feel, and just he has what you look for in an edge rusher, and a guy that you want to kind of like really build. I think he's like 20 years old, so it's like he hasn't hit that grown man body yet. 6'4", 285, and I that's the reason why I wanted to see him in person. Right, he had 28 pressures on the season, 4 QB hits, 4 sacks. He had a forced fumble as well. But I wanted to see the body type in person at the Senior Bowl, and we didn't get a chance to see that. I wanted to see what was he really built like. And this is his pressure rate is legitimate. On his overall pressure rate is 17%. But when he gets to true dropback sets, 19 hurries, 24% pass rush win rate when he just has to pin his ears back. Keith, what are your thoughts on Nick Scourton? We weren't able to see him in Mobile. Where's his draft stock right now for you?
Yeah, DP, and I guess I'm glad you kind of started with him, because he was the guy, to be completely honest, after seeing all of the guys in Mobile, right, in person, and having played in the All-Star game. And I tried not to be in the moment reactionary, right? But
Yeah.
I really question, because you're talking about the production of 4 sacks, right? I think he had a couple more sacks the year before, but when you start looking at all of these guys that we listed behind him, the question is, could they be more productive than him, right? And then at 285 pounds, I wanted to see the movement skills. I wanted to see, was this guy really a defensive tackle, right, instead of an edge rusher, instead of a pure edge rusher? How does he turn the corner? What is his closing speed at the top of the arc? All of those different things I wanted to see. And I think him not doing the Senior Bowl or any All-Star event, right, Shrine, whatever, it's one of those things out of sight, out of mind. So you have to go to the combine, try to perform really well, do something to move you back up, because this edge rush class is so deep that you can make an argument when you go down the list, right? If you have them at 5 or 6, you can make the argument to be like, hey, well, the guys behind him, you can put those above him too, right? Like, you can make that argument now. So it's really, you kind of have to remove the out of sight, out of mind thing.
Yeah, you're right. He had 8 sacks last year for Purdue, and he jumped to the SEC. And I think because, the body type and the movement skills, you were 100% correct, Keith. And that's what I wanted to see, too, because it's like he plays a decent amount standing up. Like, you see him standing up in the 2-point stance at 285. So it's like, well, like, you know what? Because you want to know who a player I think about? Remember when the Bills drafted A.J. Epinesa out of Iowa? I believe it was Iowa. And it was like he came in, he was a bigger guy. Then he dropped weight to play in a 2-point stance. And it's like weight has fluctuated throughout his career based on what they wanted him to do. And it's like I'm worried that he might fall into that same bucket, where it's like, you're a good player, we see the tools, but we got to find the right weight for you. So it's like, if he gets to a certain team, Keith, like, like the Panthers are a team that going to be linked to every single edge rusher that's not Abdul Carter at this particular moment. So it's like, if he were to go to Carolina, they play a odd front, a 3-4. So at 285, do we need to drop you down to 270? See if we can get you to 265 and trim you down a little bit so you can play stand-up edge in the NFL consistently? Or if he goes to a team like the Cincinnati Bengals and they say, you know what, we might be losing Trey Henderson. We can just let you play hand in the dirt, 285, 290 maybe. You know what I mean? You know, kind of put a little bit more muscle on the frame because as he grows into that, like I said, that grown man body, and he plays base defensive end rather than a stand-up edge rusher. So I think that's probably where I with him, I think the skill set's there, the ability to win is there, but it's just some questions on fit and how we're going to get the fit with him.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's the situation, DP, of does he have enough athleticism to win? But also, I wanted to see his strength and power, right? To be 285,
yeah.
I hope that you're overwhelming offensive lineman, right? Your speed to power conversions. Hope that, like, it's like, man, he's quickly demolishing people. Like, we got that vibe from Walter Nolan, right? You look at an Omar Norman a lot. And I know I'm comparing the defensive tackles. I'm just talking about guys that's his size, right? That's in that size range. So I hope that his size and power becomes an overwhelming situation.
Yeah, for sure. Our guy Baroncell, Keith. This is a guy that we both been high on for quite some time. And you talk about checking the box, seeing him up in person. I was happy. I gave like the Kobe fist pump after the game winning shot. I was like, let's go, Baron. Like, to see his body type, I'm like, okay, that'll play. Like, that body type in the NFL will 100% play. I always liked his get off the ball. I feel like he got a good long arm, right? Can convert speed to power. But it's like, it's always with those speed to power guys, you do want to see him in person because it's like, okay, do you actually have the frame to do this to NFL offensive tackles, right? Like Jared Verse, we knew, like, listen, there was some people that doubted. They didn't think Jared Verse could be able to convert his power to the NFL as quickly as he was able to. But when you look at his body type, right, and you see how strong he is, like, yeah, no, he's well filled in and it works just fine. And he was able to have a very successful rookie season. Maybe defensive rookie of the year for all we know. And I think when I look at Baroncell, I think he's got a chance to be that type of guy that can give you different to have. I think he's the type of guy that can sneakily in this class be one of those early day two picks that we look back and be like, man, how did he fall to the second round? Like, because of his ability to get to the quarterback. And then he has more in his bag than just the speed, the power. 6'4". He was listed at 260 at Texas. Schools don't always tell the truth. We saw that in Mobile. I mean, some guys came in very different in terms of what they were actually listed as. But he came in right around that area. I think he trimmed down a little bit. He was 6'3" at the Senior Bowl, 253 pounds. He had 32-inch arms, a 6'5" wingspan, and everything. I think the arm length might throw some people off, Keith. But listen, as long as you know how to use your hands, I'm not really that concerned.
Yeah, DP. I think for the most, I think he was a guy. If I had to put a top 10 of guys who made the most money, he was in that top 10. And maybe in the top 5, DP, because I think he caught a lot of people off guard with his body profile. He caught me off guard. I thought he was going to come in at maybe 6'2", 240 pounds. And I'm like, that's kind of what I thought. But to come in at a full 6'3", a full 253 pounds, that checks the box, right? You can play against the run, and you could be an edge rusher. And he showed the first step quickness and fluidity, be able to change, have counter moves, right? Being able to redirect, a good athlete, bend around the bag. So I think all of the things are there for him to be a top tier edge rusher. But DP, we have to talk about the top, right? Edge rushers 1 through 4. We're talking about them coming up next.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What do you want your 2025 story to be? Every January brings a new chapter, 365 blank pages waiting for you to fill. If there's a part of your life you want to rewrite or a plot twist you've been craving, why wait? Life isn't about fleeting resolutions. It's about taking control and becoming the author of your own story. Think of therapy as your personal editor, helping you craft the life you deserve. It's not just for crisis situations. Therapy can help you develop healthier coping strategies, improve your relationships, and empower you to be the best version of yourself. Whether you're facing a challenge or just looking for personal growth, Therapy is a powerful tool to help guide your journey. Whether it's learning how to set boundaries or tackling stress in new ways, therapy can help you develop skills for a better tomorrow. Even if you've never tried therapy, the benefits are clear. Finding someone to talk to and getting fresh perspectives can make all the difference in how you navigate life's ups and downs. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. Edge rushers 4 through 1. Keith, we're going to close this thing out, man. At number 4, you have Mykel Williams out of Georgia. At number 3, you have James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. At number 2, you have Jalen Walker from Georgia. At number 1, you have Abdul Carter from Penn State. For me, Keith, at number 4, I have James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. At number 3, I have Jalen Walker, our guy out of Georgia. At number 2, Mr. Riser himself from the Senior Bowl, I have Mike Green from Marshall. And at number 1, Abdul Carter, everybody's top edge rusher right now, a guy that most people are looking at as the best prospect in the class. Is like move over Travis Hunter. Abdul Carter is number 1 on a lot of people's boards right now. Keith, Jalen Walker is a guy that's hybrid linebacker, edge. But if you start paying attention to some of these, like, Daniel Jeremiah and I think Matt Miller and all the other like bigger name industry guys, they're all starting to list him as edge now. And I like it. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I think we've mocked him too, and we talked about this, a really good fit. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a team that should 100%. If he falls to them round 1, take him. You can play him on, especially with their linebacker situation. He kind of, what's the phrase? Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? You fill 2 needs with 1 draft pick. Jalen Walker can play off-ball backer for them on first and second down, and like a Micah Parsons, Baron Browning, walk on the edge and be that Tasmanian devil off the edge. I think his quickness, his power. I'm interested to see his arm length. You know what I mean? Just see like the full at the Senior Bowl, at the combine for Jalen Walker, because I want to know exactly how long his arms is. He's listed at 6'2", 245, and I mean, I forget that we talked about like his body type in the summer, and I had a comp. I can't remember what the comp was at this point.
Yeah, I can't remember who you said too. You did. I can't remember who.
But I remember your reaction. You was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good with that. I'm good with that comp," because it's like you're not too many 6'2" rushes in the NFL. But man, I just think that
we're going to Hassan Reddick.
I think it might have been Hassan Reddick. Yeah,
it might have been Hassan Reddick.
I think it was Hassan Reddick. Yep, Hassan Reddick. But then his body type is filled in a little bit thicker. He's got a little bit more muscle mass to his frame and everything. I think he could be able to, if he got the arm length, be able to stand up on the edge in the run game if you want him to be that kind of Sam backer, some over fronts, and walk him down the line of scrimmage and jam up some tight ends and set the edge. Like he just can do so many different things for you at this, and that's why, like, for me, he's a top 15, top 12 type of player. I think he's a first round linebacker, and I think he's a first round edge defender, depending on where you want to play him.
Yeah, DP, I think this is just me just doubling down on my statement that I believe the 2 best edge rushers in this class are also hybrid linebackers. Abdul Carter, right? Jalen Walker. And I said that months ago, and that's still just how I feel. So I guess I say finally to the people that are finally catching up to Jalen Walker as an edge rusher, right? You
were the earliest out. You were the first person that ever spoke his name that I ever heard, and I was like, I never heard of this kid. Like, I gotta check him out. And then watching him in the summer, I'm like, okay, yeah, he's got some stuff to him. And let's see if Georgia really, Georgia can be a little finicky with their defensive prospects. Let's see if you put him in position to succeed. And he was their best. Love Malachi Starks. I think Jalen Walker was their best defensive player all season. I think he was the best defense and most impactful defensive player all season long.
Yeah, Keith, I agree. I want to do this. I think we should have a Mykel Williams conversation. And where is he trending? Where will he land? What's your current status with him? I'm gonna ask you that.
So I love the arm length, the body type. I love all the potential with him, right? But what scares me, Keith, is that he is Tyree Wilson 2.0. And that terrifies me because it's like I saw that same kind of frame and arm length and stuff. I do think that Mykel is more athletic and more agile than Tyree Wilson for 100%. I never felt like Tyree could live on the edge and be an edge rusher or stand up at all. I've seen Mykel do it. I wanted him to go back to school so bad because that ankle injury took games off of his development. And it's just like I wanted to see him come out as a fully flushed out prospect. He is going to be a guy that, I mean, Trent Baalke's not with the Jags anymore, but if he still was, yeah, that would have been a Trent Baalke pick through and through. Because he's going to, like, Trent Baalke and Chris Ballard over with the Colts.
Yeah, I'm about to say, those are height, weight guys.
Those two guys, like the RAS, the arm length, the body types, yeah, I do think he still could go round one. I think the combine is going to be big for him. And not just the testing. I think it's going to be just showcasing on the field, like how agile he is, how loose or stiff, whatever his hips are going to look like. I think that's going to play a big part in what we see from him for his draft stock. I think he can still go first round. Where we had him projected coming into the season, I don't have him there anymore.
Yeah, I just wonder what's going to happen, right? You're talking about the combine. All of those things are going to be important. And the other thing you factor in is just how deep this draft class is that do you necessarily have to take a swing on a guy that you love the measurables, right? But has been, I think, leaving Georgia, you can say that it's unproven, to be honest. And it's unfortunate that he said it for such a hot name. But just from what last year was and this past year was, it's just not fully there, right? Just as far as the production and the picture is not painted, and I said this about Bo Nix last year, right? And obviously Bo Nix played well, but it's like there's a lot of stuff there, but it's not all sorted out, right? And I think NFL personnel, they're going to have to sort those things out with Mykel Williams. I look at it and I think from here on out, DP, every data point is going to matter for me, right? The combine, the pro day, the measurements, everything else, because now I'm at the point of convince me to draft this guy as a top 15, top 20 pick. I want you to tell me why I should go with him over Donovan Ezericu, potentially in the second round. I want you to tell me why I should draft him over Mike Green at the top of the first round, right? Just things like that. It's like if I was a GM, I would need my area scouts to sit there and explain every facet of it to me so I can understand why we're still going with a guy this high at the end of the day. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listener is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. And that right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we're going to close out the week getting ready for the Super Bowl. We're going to tell you about 3 to 5 prospects that can help catapult your team closer to a Super Bowl ring. We're going to get into the Eagles draft picks, maybe some Chiefs draft. We'll talk about all that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.